What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another Hasbro Star Wars The Vintage Collection market update. And I tried to pick not only the superstars, the megastar items that we usually cover in every video, but I picked some that are kind of a little bit behind the scenes that had some surprising sales prices. So we'll dig right into all of that information in just 1 second, but I need to give another shout out, and that is to Chris Berry. He just became my latest Patreon supporter. The reason you guys get daily videos most of the time is because of my Patreon team. They allow me to make more and better videos, and I provide all my videos 24 hours early access for them through my Patreon page. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, it's patreon.com/actionfiguregrader. And if you're watching this video right now, I hope that you were able to tune in for the live stream yesterday. I had Chris and Charles from 5 Idiots Talking Toys podcast, and they are also admins in the Rogue 5 Toys Facebook sales group. And it was just a lot of fun. We didn't have any agenda, but luckily a lot of you guys did show up with questions, and we tried to make it fun. And I freely admit that I am terrible about doing live streams. I don't do enough of them. I need to get more of you guys on. I'm trying to work with John Miko to get him on. He obviously is one of the head admins on the Facebook Vintage Collection group, and he's got his own channel, so make sure to go check him out. I'll put a link in the video description for John Miko's channel. It's just starting out, but we need to kind of support him as well. So let's dig into some Vintage Collection prices. And again, I tried to pick a pretty interesting assortment of items, but we're going to start off with the Revenge of the Sith Darth Sidious foil card back. This is obviously the Ultimate Galactic Hunt. This is one I still don't have on my list yet, and probably won't for a while. And but it's really nice. I love that kind of facial sculpt there, and of course the card back is great. It's got that free Boba Fett offer that is kind of known to be on all of the foil card backs. That one sold for $120 at auction, just one bid though. And you know, I think it's mainly because there was only one photo. They didn't show the actual card back outside of the star case, and I think that will always hurt your sales. If you don't show the condition of the card back, you're not gonna get the big boy dollars. So that's kind of a lesson for those of you who are out there reselling, is that you can't just throw up a photo of the item inside of a star case, because you have no idea what kind of condition that card back's in. And the price reflected that, $120. Next up, I've got a Darth Vader name pill, Revenge of the Sith Anakin Skywalker. This is the U.S. card, non-foil card back. We've documented a number of these that have sold here recently, both punched and unpunched. We saw an unpunched U.S. card that sold for around $200. This one, of course, went for less, $90. And that's a question I did receive that we're going to cover in my subscriber Q&A video tomorrow, where I announce the winners of the Vc240 and Vc113 that were kindly donated to the channel by Chet Osterman, Patreon supporter. But one of the questions I received was, what's the price difference between a punched and unpunched? And I did put together a very rudimentary analysis that talks about that. So be sure to tune in tomorrow for my Q&A video, where we kind of talk about some random sampling, non-scientific. My wife's a scientist. She would absolutely laugh at some of the stupid experiments I do and say, that's not statistically relevant. You know, I can't win an argument with my wife when it comes to statistics, because she's the brainiac on that. Here was a VC34 Jango Fett, and again, going back to the discussion of punched versus unpunched, this one was a punched US card, and it looked to be in pretty fantastic condition. And that one sold for $123.91 plus $9.45 shipping. And then you compare it to the punched or unpunched example. This one sold for $140. So only a slight premium this time as it relates to punched versus unpunched, but I do have some more data points, and I did include Jango Fett in that analysis that I'm going to show you guys tomorrow. And again, when I say analysis, put that in quotes, because it's not a very scientific analysis. But anyway, you know, $123.91 plus $10 shipping. Let's call that $135-ish versus $151 with shipping for the unpunched example of Jango Fett. A couple of data points, though, for those of you still looking out there. I only have the Canadian card back. I'd love to get the U.S. card back eventually to kind of match with it, but probably won't happen anytime this year anyway. Here's Kit Fisto Vc29, and this is another one that seems to be kind of creeping up in price. We've documented a few examples of Kit Fisto that have hit kind of $200 almost for unpunched examples. This one was a punched example. Again, the US card back in not great shape. You know, it had quite a bit of edge wear, as you can see on the back of the card back. So that kept the price down between being punched and also with all the edge wear. This is at best probably like an 80 grade condition. But still, you know, this is a very expensive figure on the secondary market right now. And if you're willing to live with some kind of minor defects to the card back, this one sold for $135 or about 200 Australian dollars plus shipping. One of my favorites, this is Luke Skywalker Dagobah Landing. This was an unpunched example, and this one had the harder to find clear saber. As we've talked about and beat to a dead horse on this channel, he came with two different sabers, the dark blue saber, which I have, and then this light blue saber, which I find to be a little bit tougher to find. But, you know, it looked to be in pretty decent shape overall. I hope that that sticker that's on the back there is not on the card back. It's hard to tell. I assume it's just on the back of the star case there. But a little bit of weight to the card, but overall pretty clean condition. Probably like a low grade. Yeah, you know, it's got a little bit of bending right there on the card. Yeah, it's tight. It's probably like an 80 plus grade if I had to guess. Now, it was listed for $175 and it did sell for $150. Which, you know, again, it's hard to tell what's going on in that upper corner up there and whether that's just, you know, bad lighting or what. But, you know, he tried to show kind of the defects there. And, you know, that specifically around those two lines there. Again, it could just be the star case kind of reflecting off of it onto the card back. But, you know, it's hard to tell exactly what kind of grade this is in. But it did sell for $150. That was the best offer that was accepted, plus $12 shipping. Next up, I've got Vc100, the prototype armor Boba Fett, and this one did come with the mailer box that this mint on card Boba Fett was shipped in. The mailer box obviously has some staining or some damage there. It looks like somebody couldn't quite wait to get to the toilet, and there's just some minor staining on that. But the card itself looks to be in pretty impeccable condition. That sold for $150. That's kind of the going rate right now. On the low end, you might get it, you know, might squeeze out $130-ish for a near mint plus example of the Vc100 prototype Fett. I've seen as high as $175-ish ungraded, and then, you know, high grade though. I mean, there's been some uncirculated 90s that have hit massive numbers. So I think that for, you know, if you're buying this, you're really buying it for the item. And, you know, the white mailer box, it's like, you know, I could take it or leave it, but the card itself looked pretty impeccable shape overall. But anyway, $150 took that home, free shipping. Now, going back to the premise at the beginning of this video, I wanted to pick out a few characters that I thought were creeping up in price, and maybe they're not, I don't know. But I just thought they were kind of interesting, and especially when I could find multiple examples that have sold. And one of those is the Rebel Pilot Mon Calamari alien version. It might be a trap, and it might not, but this one, it seemed to sell for a pretty fair price, but it did have a litho damage there in the upper right-hand corner, as you can see. That one sold for $88. Now, if you compare it to this one, this is the European release. Obviously, you can tell because it's got that black sticker in the upper right-hand corner, as well as the 4+ sticker that was added in the upper left-hand corner. Now, this one looked to be in better shape overall. I only gave a cursory look before I added it to today's video, but, you know, just a little bit of edge wear over there on the left-hand side, but pretty clean overall. But obviously, this one, you know, some collectors, they don't like this big sticker that has all the multi-language warnings on the back because it covers up the back of the card art, and that sometimes keeps the price down a little bit. But in terms of the actual condition of the item, this is much better, right? Because it doesn't have that lithos tear that's on the front of that US card that I just showed you. But this one sold for $80.80 in the UK, which is about 70 pounds plus shipping. So a couple of data points there. I like this one a lot. This is one I do not have in my collection, but it's a great card back, great image on the card. And so just a couple of data points there, but, you know, clearly the European one that I'm showing you here is in better shape, but it seems like the market has spoken and they don't like the European stickers on the back. Me personally, I actually like them better. I think it's because I'm so used to the US card backs and the US artwork that it doesn't bother me as much. To me, I think there's always something to be said about having a foreign variant that was produced in lower numbers. Now, again, this is the US card. It just has these stickers applied to it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but, you know, like Canadian card backs and the European release with these stickers on it, there's just got to be fewer of them out there in terms of a total population that to me, they're pretty desirable, and it's probably because I don't own any. So next up, we've got another data point for Vc96 Darth Malgus, and this price was a little higher than we've seen here recently, but the seller was very interestingly showed that he opened up a sealed case of these. And I did forget to include a sealed case. I want to talk about that at the end of the video. But this was an open case, so they're case fresh, and it sold for $103.90, one bid, plus shipping. This was over in the UK, so it was 90 pounds. But this is wave 2, case of 12, that had been opened. So it's straight from a factory case, a Vc96, the US card with the Darth Maul offer sticker. So just a data point there for Darth Malgus. Now, again, that's a little higher than what we've seen, right? You know, I think we've seen kind of 70, 80, 90-ish range. So it's slightly higher. And I think that, you know, the seller was smart to include this photo because he's basically saying, look, this is straight out of a factory case. You can't get any fresher than that, given that these are, you know, let's call it 12 years old now, 10 or 12 years old now. You know, it's just a good selling point, I think, from the seller. This was an interesting one, and one I do have some desire for, and that's the European release of Vc100 Starkiller. Again, it's got that big sticker on the back. Now, it was listed for 215 pounds, but the final sales price was 165 pounds. So he came off quite a bit. He came off about, let's call it 20 to 25% off that list price. But this was a really nice, desirable European release for Starkiller. Beautiful card back. One of my favorites in the line. Again, another European release. This was Vc102 Ahsoka Unpunched. And this price, wow. You're talking about a massive price here. This was sold over in Denmark for 500 euros, which is dollar for dollar now. The euro used to be about 10% higher than the US dollar over the last few years. But now it's 1-to-1 ratio. So 500 euros, that equates to almost exactly 500 US dollars plus shipping. But what a gorgeous example of the original release Vc102 Ahsoka on that European release card back. This price also surprised me. This is the Vintage Collection 30th Anniversary Bounty Hunters 2-pack with Forlom and Zuckuss. And as you can see, they're still inside that kind of box, that you know, Velcroed box that Zuckuss and Forlom came in. And the box has got maybe just a little bit of wear to it, but that's sold for 350 euros, which is, again, about 350 US plus shipping. So that price surprised me. I did not realize that these had gotten so high, but it's one that we haven't taken a look at here recently. And again, it kind of falls into my under the radar characters and packages that I just haven't covered in a while. And that price was eye-opening. I had not realized that they had gotten that expensive. Next up, I've got a graded. This is the only graded Vintage Collection in this market update, but this is the re-release for Vc09 Boba Fett on the Empire Strikes Back card. It was an uncirculated 8.5. That sold for $124.95, free shipping. So just a data point there. It's got that label, the AFA label up top, the Clearview label, but pretty nice example, and an 8.5 uncirculated grade. Again, going back to Rey, we haven't looked at this Rise of Skywalker Rey in a while, and I did find a couple of data points for Rey. This one sold at auction for $47 on 9 bids with free shipping. And then I found another one that just sold here recently. This one sold for $62 plus $5.90 shipping. So that gives you a nice, you know, tight price range for those of you still looking for VC156 Rey. And this seller included a number of photos to show how clean the card back was, and probably why it got a little bit higher price point than this one that sold at auction. And it looked to be in a little bit better shape, but just minor differences between the two. Next up, this is another one that, again, that falls into my under the radar category, but this is the Amazon exclusive of VC162A, the Armory pack for the Sith Trooper. Look at the size of that bubble. And that's another question I received from a subscriber for the Q&A video, is that some of these bubbles now have gotten so big that they kind of cover up the card art. And this is an example of one where they decided to splay out all the weapons right next to the Sith Trooper, and it almost blocks the entire card art on that. And, you know, whatever, I don't particularly care, but I do want to point out that there are some collectors out there that are noticing that the bubbles seem to be getting much larger for some of these. But, you know, this obviously has a number of accessories. They certainly could have packed those tighter, but, you know, this is one that has definitely jumped up in price a little bit. It was kind of going pretty consistently for like $60 to $70. You might get it as low as $40 if the card has some issues, but this one sold for $115. And this one was not perfect by any means. You can see around the hanger tab there on the left-hand side that it had some spider veining going on. But, you know, again, it's an Amazon exclusive. So we know the Amazon shipping issues that are out there with Target, Amazon, Best Buy, and some of those do get beat up in shipping. And this one just had a little bit of wear to it, but $115 took that one home. And then here's another data point. This is kind of more in line with market. This one sold for $70. Again, it's the same Amazon exclusive Sith Trooper with the Armory pack exclusive pack-ins. So next up, I've got the Imperial tank driver as well as the commander. I pulled up data points, recent sales for both of those. The tank driver tends to not command nearly as high of a price, and this data supports that. This one sold for $39.59 plus $10 shipping, so let's call it about $50 for the Imperial Assault Tank Driver on the Rogue One card. Now, the big boy is the Imperial Assault Tank Commander. Well, I thought I had the Commander in here, so never mind. I got I got two drivers, two Imperial Assault Tank Drivers. I must have accidentally closed out the Commander, so you'll have to forgive me on that. But this one was the one I was like, huh? I mean, look how beat up the card is on this one, but it did sell for $135.99. So I don't know. Maybe the buyer just didn't notice the damage on it. I don't know. But I could see this price for a near mint plus example of the Imperial Assault Tank Commander. But to get a beat up card for $135.99 versus this one that sold for about a third of that price, who knows? It could be a fake sale. I don't know. But that one did apparently sell. So next up, I've got the 4-pack Bad Batch Special. And this was an Amazon exclusive. And this included kind of a little star case for it. And that one sold for $84.99 Great British Pounds, which is about 98 US dollars. So that's creeping up a little bit. They kind of hit a bottom there of about $50 to $60, but they're kind of now creeping back up for those that missed it and want to pick one up. So 98 US dollars was the sales price on that. Again, at 85 Great British Pounds. Next up, I've got the Y-Wing. This is the Toys R Us exclusive 2011 Y-Wing. Now, this was out of the box, but advertised as complete. That sold for $194. That's just for the loose vehicle. So that price surprised me, and I thought it was worth including in here. I thought we had a mint and sealed box example that sold for right around that same price. But again, I'm going on memory, and I don't remember everything that I talk about. But the $194 for a loose complete Toys R Us exclusive Y-Wing, that was a pretty big price, $194 plus $14.55 shipping. A few other vehicles before we close out the video. I've got a couple of examples of the Atat Walker on the Return of the Jedi packaging. There obviously was another one with the Empire Strikes Back packaging, but this was the Toys R Us exclusive mint and sealed box Atat, and it was at auction. So $410 plus another $68.93 shipping. So let's call that, about $480 for the Atat Walker. And then this is the other data point I wanted to show. This was up in Canada. The pictures were not great, and it also did have some damage, which the seller was kind enough to disclose. That one sold for $343 plus another $76 shipping. So clearly this box was in much better condition, and while it did sell for a slight premium, it was a better deal in my mind than this one that had some pretty obvious damage to the box. Next up, this price really surprised me. This was over in England. This one sold for 200 pounds. This is the AT-ST Raider for the Mandalorian. But wow, I don't know if it's because the Klatooinian Raider is coming back out on a single card or what, but this price was significantly above recent sales prices. That equates to about 230 US dollars. And at least over here in the US, these have been selling pretty consistently for about $150 to $175. But for whatever reason, this one did sell for 200 Great British Pounds, or about 230 US dollars. And then finally, before we finish up the video, I've got the Razor Crest again. This is a mint and sealed box example of the Razor Crest. This seller had two of them, and both of them did sell very quickly for $830 with free shipping. So again, for those of you who want to pony up for the Razor Crest HasLab special, that gives you another couple of data points. I've seen as low as $650 here recently. And then I found a number of data points anywhere from kind of $750 to $850. So anyway, that's all I really had for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.